And we have a independent judiciary, which is trying to become independent, of course, because we're still in the middle of legal reform. We have adopted about 500 legislation since 1990, trying to adapt to the liberal way of life, to democracy and so forth. In foreign policy, if you look at the map, we're situated between Russia and China. Our foreign policy priority is to have a balanced relationship between Russia and China. That's very important. But that is not enough. What we're trying to do is to reach out to other countries, to other groups of countries, like to the European Union, like to the US, Latin America, and other countries, so that we will have more or less level playing field when it comes to foreign policy. Economy. About 90% of economic production is produced by the private sector now. I think it's a big progress compared to what was in 1990, 20 years ago. Briefly about trade. Our foreign trade turnover is about $4 billion, which is not much, but nevertheless, it has increased 4 times compared to year 2000. Most of the items that we're exporting are mining items like copper, gold, coal, some textiles. So far, we don't have much items to export industrially produced, and that's where I think we're interested in bringing in the technology to produce and export to either to Russia, China, or to any other countries. Development objectives. I'll be very brief. Our development objective is to become a medium-income country by 2020. That is a very big challenge for us, of course, but I think we would be able to achieve those objectives. But much depends, of course, not only on the policy of the country itself or the government, but also on the climate. Last winter, we've lost about 20% of our all livestock. 8.5 million heads of livestock was frozen to death. So this is also a challenge for us. Much depends at this stage, because Mongolia is an agricultural country, much depends at this stage on the climate changes at this stage. Development priorities. Our development priorities now at this stage is to focus more on mining, because Mongolia is now opening up its mining sector. We have the largest, I point out, the largest reserve of copper and gold reserves. It's about 30 to 33 million tons of copper and gold we have. So we're opening up this sector. Coal is the second one. We have about 9 billion tons of coal. So this is also a very important our export item. And mainly, I guess, it will be going to Asian countries, because Asian countries are developing at a very, very high speed. The third minerals that we are proud of and are working on is uranium. We're in fact planning to develop nuclear energy sector, so that perhaps we might be able to produce electricity ourselves. So far, we're importing about 85% of our electricity from Russia, and 95% of oil is imported from Russia as well. So as of today, we're very much dependent on import of foreign electricity and energy resources. So hopefully uranium would open up doors for us to focus on that. The next development priority is agriculture. We have about 40 million heads of livestock, and if we handle it rightly, I think we can become one of the largest exporters of meat products, maybe leather products, and so on and so forth. So this is also an item which the investors should have in mind. Now, since I was asked to talk about foreign direct investment, I would like to say a few words. Since 1990, when we started the new phase of our development, as I have said, with the private sector-led economy, we were able to have $4 billion of investment. This is, I believe, is just the beginning. However, the most investment is coming from China. What we are trying to do is to diversify the investment. We're trying to open up to as many countries as possible, especially to European countries, including the Austria and other European countries. In order to do that, of course, we should have a good legislation that will allow investment in Mongolia. We have adopted legislation on investment promotion in 1993, and that law has been amended 3 times to bearing in mind the wishes of possible investors. Now, compared to Russia and China, I would say that our investment environment is much linear. The reason is that it takes very few days to set up a joint venture. If in, let's say, 20 years ago when we adopted the legislation, it took about 2 months to open up and run a joint venture, and you needed, 15, 16 papers. Now it's the period has went down to 3 to 5 days. Within a week, you can open up a joint venture, and you need only 7 papers to do that. So compared to Russia and China, of course, it's much more liberal instrument. According to international data, Mongolia ranked 60th out of 180 economies in terms of easing of doing business. I think that is very important because in some countries it takes about 6, 7, 8 months to open up a joint venture. In our case, it's if the papers are right, you can do it within 7 days. Now, foreign investment in the environment. Our law specifically says that foreign investors have the same rights as national investors, as national enterprises. There's no discrimination. I think that is one of the things that the investors should have in mind, because in many developing countries, what they try to do is to protect your own national producers. But what we are trying to do in order to attract investment is to give same legal status to foreign investors, just like to Mongolian ones. Mongolia also has the lowest tax rates in the region. Compared to other countries, the lowest in Asia. I think that is also a very positive sign. And with the European Union, we have an agreement whereby 7,200 items can be exported from Mongolia with no taxes to European countries. So these are some of the areas that you should bear in mind if you want to invest in Mongolia. If you invest more than $20 million in Mongolia, you have the right to sign a stability, how it's called, just a minute, stability agreement, meaning that the prices will not change, let's say 15 to 20 years, it will be stable, and that the agreement or the commitment taken by Mongolian side will not be changed. So this is also one of the innovations that we're trying to promote Mongolia. So I'll just briefly sum up what I have said. If you want to invest in Mongolia, look at the map. Though Mongolian population is only 2.7 million, nevertheless we have big neighbors who have a big appetite for business, for doing business and getting services. Only in the immediate regions of Mongolia, there are 40 million people, of Russians and Chinese, that want to do business with Mongolia or through Mongolia. And Mongolia, being a developing country, has some advantages that the industrial countries do not have, because Russia and China are also see European Union as such, or developed countries as their competitors. So when you do business through Mongolia, it will be easier because they treat us as a developing country. And the joint venture that can be set up in Mongolia would have the benefits of developing countries, including tax benefits and others. The second reason is that you could invest in Mongolia is that we have a lot of resources, as I have pointed out, mineral resources, livestock, and so on. Competitive business costs, I will not talk about it because we have very young people. About 70% of our people are young people below 35 years of age. They are willing to work, and I'm sure that if they are provided with the opportunity, they'll be able to work very closely with the investors, I understand. And the last but not least is that we have a stable political environment. As I have said, since 1990 we've been holding elections every 4 years. There has been no problem. We don't see any problem in the stability in the political or economic area. In fact, next year Mongolia will be chairing the Community of Democracies. This is a very exclusive club, and Mongolia was nominated, and it was decided that Mongolia can chair because it is an exemplary country when it comes to not only business but also to doing political reforms. So with this brief introduction, I would like to say thank you very much for your attention. I hope that next time when I'll be making the state meal, or somebody from Mongolia might come to participate in the Columbus Symposium, we'll have pictures and PowerPoint presentations. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Shaikan, thank you very much for your interesting presentation about your interest in an emerging country. And are there any direct questions to the Ambassador about Mongolia? If not, we move on to Your Excellency, Ambassador from Congo, Madame Clementine Kamanga Shakembo. I'm very looking forward to hear a very interesting talk about this very exciting and important Democratic Republic of Congo. So, bonjour, madame.
Bonjour.
The talk will be in French, but we have a direct translation into German from our colleague Clement Matumbo, and maybe this German will then be translated in English up there for some people who need it. Okay, thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Good morning. I just want to give you some greetings in English, and then after that I will switch in French, because as you know that the Democratic Republic of Congo is a French country, and the official language is French. Alors, je commence par remercier les organisateurs du Symposium Columbus pour m'avoir envoyé une invitation, spécialement à M. Booker et à M. Max Rutenwegger.
Ich bedanke mich zunächst.
Excusez-moi de la prononciation. Okay.
Ich bedanke mich zunächst einmal bei den Organisatoren und ganz besonders bei Dr. Busek und sowie bei Max Rettenwender.
Ok, alors pour moi c'est un honneur de venir à ce campus pour vous présenter brièvement la République démocratique